Hey everyone, who's ready for some mixed media goodness? So nice and simple, just getting out the watercolors that we got in the kit, but you can use paint or even spray mist if you didn't get these watercolors or don't have your own. And I'm just using a water brush, and I'm sort of just brushing down on the pencil and then squirting the water out after a bit. This gives it a nice concentrated color, and then I'm dropping it onto the page in little sections of dots, and I'm going to use some plastic like packaging technique and just smush it out. So this is an 8.5 by 8.5 by 11 layout, and it's just on like pretty thin cardstock. This is a cardstock I purchased to print on, pretty cheap, and that's why it's buckling a little bit already, but that doesn't really worry me. So just adding a bit more pops of the colour and spreading out the colour as well. Sort of don't want it to look like it's so formed. Don't want it to look like I have used the packaging technique, which makes it look more random and more watercolory. That's totally a word, right? It is in the crafting world, surely. So just having a little play with the way it sits there, and I'm just going to let it roll down the page a little just to give it a bit of extra border, as in like surface area to it, making it come down the page or up the page, however I decide to layer or put the page when I go to embellish it and add a photo, because obviously I can't just embellish it. I probably do need to have a photo on it indeed. So here we go, layering up the paper behind. And actually, if you're playing along at home, the paper behind it is actually not the one I just did. I did stuff up the first one and did the second layout, but I kept in the layering so that you could see it. So I've gone back in the video footage, kept the layering, and then kept the real mixed media goodness. And my paper's blowing because I've got the air conditioning, the portable air conditioner behind me, trying to cool myself down while I'm scrapbooking. So here I go. I'm just using all types of paper, but I want to keep the layout orange and then black with obviously the white background. I don't fill in too much of the background, but I want to keep it orange and black and then go with that. So I'm keeping my papers along those lines as well. And for some reason, the orange in this kit really was my perfect tone. I really enjoyed it. So I've used it quite a lot in lots of different ways, and I've just loved the pop of that brightness. So adding some labels. The labels are always good for layering. It adds a little bit of extra, a different look because it's white and then has a different shaped border, depending on edge, depending on which one you use. This one I like. This has got a triangle edge to it, so I end up using that, even though I do try a few different places, but it ends up on the other opposite side of the label that's already on there. So I'm just going to add a few more layers. I'm not going to go crazy. I don't want the tiny photo to end up being like 4x6 size, but I do want it to have some goodness going on behind it so that it doesn't blend into the mixed media background, that it pops off and speaks to it on its own as an element. So just cutting down this sticker, I wondered whether the tone was right, because at this moment I was thinking yellow and orange, but I don't end up adding any of the yellow. So just pulling out some of the black and the orange words, just seeing what I have to work with, not really looking at them too much, but just pulling them out so that when I go to put things on the paper, I have them ready to choose from. And now I'm just going through the 6.5 by 6.5 papers, because it's nice to use these papers when you're layering behind something small, because the print is small, so you can see those dots are fairly small rather than big ones that are on the 12 by 12. And sometimes that's the kind of look that's really nice, rather than having one big black spot in two areas of the mat, the photo layer. Does that make sense? That's hard to kind of explain without visual aids proper. So you can see I don't border everything all the way around all the same way every single time. And here I'm going to rip the bottom. I just find that it's if it's all conformed, like all the same, and it all conforms to the one way in terms of, you know, a full border mat, that to me it doesn't look the way that I like. I've looked at other people's layouts and lots of people do it, and I like it because that goes in with the rest of their style of the whole layout, the whole design. But when you look at the rest of my design in the background, it's more of that grunge, messy, you know, crazy random look. So if I did it all really neat and all precise, exactly the same all the way around the photo, I think it would look too perfect on a imperfect background, if that makes sense. So that's why I often do it that way, and that's just my style with layering. So here you can see I'm adding that label, and then that's going to round off the photo layers, and that's going to be it. So sticking it to the page, here's the real mixed media page. I just let it dry for a little bit, and now I'm going to use some Stays On ink and one of the roller phrase stamps that we got in the kit last year. So I'm just trying to work out which way I want to have the background. I don't obviously want to stamp words and then have the upside down because I forgot which way I was going. So I'm just going to stamp them in a couple of different spots, just half random but half thinking about the position of the photo. It does end up with a lot of different stuff going on in the background, not overwhelming, but there's more, you know, it goes from pretty simplistic orange, just orange paint in the background, to stamped words and then stamped circles. So I finished with my stamped words, and I've just got my lid of one of my spray mists, and I'm just stamping it in the ink and then stamping it straight onto the page, and that'll give the nice black outline circles. And as you can see, adding them in those 3 spots to start with. I didn't glue down the photo until I'd done those, so that I could overlap them underneath or underlap them under the photo. Now I'm just using the lid of my Sharpie pen, and this one's got like a dot in the middle of the outline lid, so you can see that's what is being stamped onto my page. So it was just nice to grab different circles, different sizes, different thicknesses, but also, you know, ones like this one with the thing in the dot in the middle. And this is another Sharpie that has a different size. It was just nice to give a little bit of different, you know, things to look at. When you look over the page, you're like, oh, there's big ones and little ones and medium ones, and that one's got, you know, something in the middle of that one and whatnot. So it just adds to the interest without being too different that it stands out. So just using the pen to do a doodly border. That one wasn't working very well, so swap it out. And that is just while I'm having to think about what else I need to add to it. But also doing the doodly border now also means that I could see the complete look, what I was going to be looking like when it's finished. So then that obviously, you know, it sort of grounds what's going on in the page while I'm still working on it. So just sort of added some squiggly lines on the border, a couple of spots, just for a little pop of interest if you're looking at the border. So I'm going to add this "You Are Amazing" because he is. Look at him, so cute. And then I'm just going to have a play with some journaling and some tiny words. I think I do add a bit more stamping, maybe. Let's wait and see about that one, hey? So adding in that word, and then I'm going to go back and add some journaling, but also then remember when I pulled out all those word phrases that were orange or black. Going to go through them and work out which ones I want on the layout. It was so funny, actually. You know how when I unbox my kits, I put them ephemera in this section and words in that section and labels in that section. I made these first 4 layouts I made for the design team the first weekend that I got them. And then the next weekend when I went back to scrapbook, I was making layouts galore, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I need a tiny word, and I'd been using the Vicky Budin stickers for tiny words, but I was like, oh, don't we have other ones? And then all of a sudden I'd realised I had completely hidden that section of words with my, being covered by the sticker sheets, and hadn't been using them for so many layouts, so I had so many. I was running out of ephemera, but I had like 20 million words. It was so funny. Just one of those, crazy moments. So I added that blessed up the top. That was a nice little piece that worked in well. I thought it went really well with the layout, and it's no point keeping it because I don't know if it's going to go with any other layout. So on it goes, and I'm just going through all the bits and pieces that I have to see what I can add. Sometimes when you're not too sure how you're going to finish it off, especially if you're working with a kit, it's nice to just pull a couple of items up, pull up the chipboard or pull out the puffy stickers and just see what's on there that's popping out that will go nicely onto the layout. So one of these little border strips with the chevrons, that's going to go up the top there for a pop of orange on the photo. On the layout. There's lots of orange on the layout. I meant on the photo. And there you can see, you could totally finish it just here, but I'm going to add in some of these phrases. So just having a look. And then I wanted to staple them on, but because they're in the middle of the paper, I can't do it with this stapler. Oh, actually you can, but it's a bit of a hassle. So what I did was just stapled it by itself. So you see I stapled each edge, and that way when I stick it down, it looks like I've stapled it to the page. Gives the same effect without any hassle. Such a cool trick. I'm pretty sure I've seen that someone on YouTube do that one. That was not my brain that thought that awesome thing up. So just adding these phrase stickers on, and I just like this tone of orange. It's just so nice and works out to be such a sweet layout. And it's a nice colour for a boy layout without being, the normal blues and greens that we tend to overwhelm boy layouts with. The other good thing is those watercolours are so vibrant when you get them onto the paper like this. So I wonder if any of you are enjoying the watercolours, those watercolour pencils that we got. Let me know down below. Well, here's the close-ups, and that means we are finished. So I'll catch you next video. Bye-bye.